conversation today. I'm excited. Today we're going to be talking about bloodlines. So if you missed the first two episodes, hey, Luna, you're welcome, love. If you missed the first two episodes, hey, G Lover Girl, they are on YouTube right now for you guys to catch up. This is going to be a really good episode because, again, like I said, we're talking about bloodlines, the ancient bloodlines, and some of the missions that they carry, some of the hidden codes that have been hidden in these very toxic family dynamics, very dense environments. They were put there on purpose. So a lot of you guys were born into those families so that you can get the codes. So sometimes it's not just about the family that you're born into. Sometimes you're born there for a specific reason. And so today is going to be able to give you some clarity on some of that, which is really good. Hey, Memory. So yeah, I am going to leave open the chat. I'll only be answering questions for those in my Patreon. So if you're on my Patreon, I will be having that chat open. And I'll answer your questions after we're done with the lesson. Today's lesson is actually quite long, and I'm going to, I haven't decided if I'm going to break it up or not, meaning like break it up into multiple parts, because I don't want this to get too out of hand. Because I feel like our last session was like, or our first session was like almost 3 hours. I ain't trying to do all that today. So sorry, I'm just clearing my space real quick before I get into the juice. But today is going to be, hey D, today's going to be a good one. I was doing searching on that, and the codes are places in certain areas of our body. Hey Hydra. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited. So the topics today are going to be blood type. We're going to talk about blood types. We're going to talk about bloodlines, because our blood is just not what we think it is. Hold on, let me just say my reverence real quick. 1 second. Okay. All right. No, you can still watch on my YouTube. I'm just saying I'm only taking questions from my Patreon. Okay. Hey, Stony. Okay, D. It's okay. You can catch up later. Yeah, this is going to be good. I'm excited about it. So I'm almost done, y'all. I'm sorry. I got a whole process when it comes to getting my energy together. Okay. So before we get into the bloodlines, we kind of need to talk a little bit about the difference between the oversoul, the higher self, your ancestors, and your spirit guides, because that's kind of where all this kind of comes in. You know, bloodlines are more associated with ancestors. Okay. But we still need to talk about and I think we briefly hit on it last time in the last episode. So just to recap from all the stuff that we've covered, we talked about why we're all incarnated right now and why the flame lineages that some of us belong to. And then in this episode, again, like I said, we're going to talk about the bloodlines. Okay. So let's start with talking about the oversoul. We'll talk about the higher self. We'll talk about the ancestors. We'll talk about the spirit guides. And then YouTube, if you see me looking up here, is because I'm looking at TikTok. I'm trying to get better at being, in two places at once. But we'll also talk about like how the oversoul descends into this reality and kind of like how that happens. And then we'll jump into some of the bloodlines that are kind of like incarnated right now, which there's up to, I think, like 36 different ones. We're not going over all of them. Okay. I'm going to pull out a couple of main ones that I think they're important, because a lot of us have like multiple of these in our lineage or in our body, depending on how your body is designed, which is basically going to be determined by your blood type. So let's get started. So last time we started the conversation about the oversoul, and this oversoul is basically the eternal flame intelligence that births your soul spark. And your soul spark is what descends into this physical reality. Okay. So remember I said the oversoul was like the sun, and then your soul spark is like a ray coming off of the sun. Okay. That's how you remember it. The role of your oversoul is the core architect of your soul's journey across all lifetimes, all dimensions, all everything. Okay. So you always, you know how they say you always have the same soul? That's what it means. Like it's like you might not be in, you have the same soul, meaning like you have the same oversoul. But your mission might be different. The things that you're encoded with might be different, okay, across those timelines. But your oversoul is basically like the Akashic record for yourself. It holds everything, all the memories, all the everything. Okay. The location is it exists beyond dimensions. It is basically existing in the eternal source field. Okay. That's where your oversoul is. Now, your higher self is your soul's direct communication with the divine in this incarnation. Okay. So your higher self is specific to this incarnation, whereas your oversoul is everything. Okay. The role is to help you to with your daily navigation. It's kind of like your soul compass in your intuitive direction, and it's located in the 5D plus layers of your own soul. Okay, so 5D plus. It's not in this 3D 4D reality, it's in 5D plus. Okay. Ancestors are spirits of your bloodline or soul lineage. Okay. The role is to provide wisdom, protection, memory, and grounding. And they are actually located in the 3D, 4D fields with you. So they're earthbound, or some of them can be elevated depending on how much work they're doing on the other side. Okay. But those are going to be probably the closest to you. Then you have your spirit guides, and your spirit guides are assigned or close allies in your path. They can be non-human or they could be former human. Okay. The role of your spirit guides is for guidance, support, healing, and teaching. So your spirit guides and ancestors kind of do the same thing, but your spirit guides can be like star beings or non-human, whereas your ancestors are specific to your bloodline. Okay. The location of your spirit guides is 4D through 7D, depending on your origin and your mission. Now, we have the physical plane, and the astral plane sits 90 degrees on top of that. So it's really like this, but it sits right on top of that, 90 degrees in this direction. So it's really like this, but then the astral plane is like this. Okay. And then after that, you have the third plane. And the third plane is usually where the ascended masters, teachers, guides, spirit guides, and things like that are going to exist. Okay. So Oversoul is not just emotional, it's foundational. It's not just guidance, it is source itself. But you don't call upon it, you actually have to embody it. Okay, so your oversoul, like I said, is like the sun. Your soul is like the ray that is coming off of that sun that is sent down to earth. Okay, the oversoul watches through you. It speaks through your tones, not your words. So, like the tone that you are using is your oversoul speaking. Okay, and the messages come from knowing, from dreams, from resonance, and from remembrance. Okay. Your higher self, this is going to be the filtered extension of your oversoul, and it's customized to this incarnation. It's the part of you that helps you to kind of navigate life with soul clarity. Okay. It's your inner compass. It's like your sacred GPS system, or your like soul assistant. Okay, that's how you want to look at that, as like your soul's assistant in this incarnation. I don't know if y'all ever seen the show Upload, but how he calls on the angel and she comes and she like assists him with everything in his day-to-day life. That's kind of like your higher self. If you have not seen it, it's a show on Amazon. It's actually good. It's about like once you pass over, like people were just basically collecting their consciousness and putting it into like a false reality, which is a soul trap. But anyway, it's an interesting show if y'all want to check it out. But you connect to it through intuition, through meditation, through presence, meaning like being grounded in the present moment. And it sees the whole path, but not the void in between this incarnation and the other incarnations. Okay. It's like basically a mountaintop type of view. So it can kind of see over everything. But it's basically guiding you from moment to moment. Okay. Now your ancestors are your bloodline and soul line memory holders. Okay. They are not just genetic relatives, but some of them can sometimes be soul ancestors. Okay. This is going to tell you like if you're a healer, if you're a seer, if you're a priestess, if you're a flame bearer from if you were a flame bearer who held special skills from past lives, or your soul lineage as well. Okay. They hold earth wisdom, root codes, ritual, and emotional memory. Okay. So that's going to be your ancestors. Some are still healing while others are fully elevated and protecting you. So it just depends on where they are in the path. Like if you had an ancestor who just passed, there is a transitional period once you pass over. That usually takes about 8 months. So that's why I like when I offer services, I tell people if they passed over like less than 8 months ago or less than a year ago, it's going to be harder to connect. Okay. That's not true for me. But I tell people that because sometimes once they passed over, they still have some healing to do. Some of them will still have some unfinished business on earth, and they'll try to attach to your light. So I just tell people that because it's safer, than me having to get your cousin up off of me. You know what I'm saying? So, because sometimes they'll try to mount you, and it just causes so much energy drainage. Okay. When you remember ancient practices or you feel grief that doesn't belong to you, that's usually your ancestors rising in your field. Okay. Some ancient practices like meditation or sound healing or yoga or all those things, we think that they're new. They're not new. Like a lot of them are really, really ancient practices. Herbalism, stuff like that, come from ancestors. Okay. Then you have your spirit guides, and your spirit guides are assigned or invited allies in non-physical form. They may be animals, they may be angelic, they may be elemental, they may be galactic, and they could also have been a former human or human in spirit. Some come for a season, meaning like you don't always have the same spirit guides. You have one main spirit guide, and then you have outer bound spirit guides that help you with specific places in your path. Like for instance, say you are alcoholic or you have trouble with your mom or stuff like that. Like sometimes they'll come in and help you with specific things that you're trying to navigate. Okay. But spirit guides are sometimes interchangeable, and it's usually only one that you have the entire time that you're in an incarnation. Okay. Some are just for the soul mission. They teach, they protect, they initiate, and they sometimes challenge you. They're kind of like a support staff for the soul realm, but they're not your source. Okay. They work with your oversoul's intention, but they're not above your oversoul. Your oversoul is basically like the God within that they always talking about. Okay. Hey, nothing true. So if we had to give it a hierarchy, you would have to understand that your oversoul basically births your higher self, who supports your soul journey, and your ancestors and spirit guides surround and assist you in this specific incarnation. Okay. So you can receive guidance from all of these, but your oversoul is the flame that kind of lit the rest of the truth, like lit everybody else into existence. Okay. You don't choose your oversoul. You're born from it. You are shaped by its frequency, function, and flame lineage. Okay. So let's talk about how you kind of ascend into this reality. All right. Your soul is ignited with a flame to descend. This process is called the descent of the spark. Okay. And this is a sacred act that is complex and intentional, meaning like it was done on purpose. It was chosen on purpose. So the first thing that happened is that your oversoul breathes forth a spark. Okay. From its flame, the oversoul spirals off a specific tone because everything in existence that is physical is vibrating. Okay, which means that it is making a sound. The whole universe is basically a symphony of different tones. We are different frequencies, we are different tones, and we're basically creating a symphony together. Okay, so a specific tone comes off, and this tone is the soul spark. So when they say again that the universe is a symphony, that this is what they mean. All right, this spark carries your mission, a vibration, and a remembrance path. Okay, hey Shay Shay. So it carries a mission, a vibration, and a remembrance path, meaning like a path of remembrance for you, meaning everything is set in stone. Astrology is not what y'all think it is. Astrology is the soul map to how your oversoul intended on incarnating here. It is going to tell you when every single initiation and everything happens, because you are not separate from astrology. You are astrology. You are living it. Okay. That's why when the energy changes, sometimes you feel a shift in your energy. Astrology is the soul map. It's telling you when everything is going to happen. You know? Human design is how your oversoul decided to descend, meaning like what energy it holds, how to get your energy in alignment, what your mission is. Everything of that can be found through human design. Okay? That's why I'm always preaching that. Okay? So the spark carries a mission, a vibration, and a remembrance. It's encoded with memory, will, and choice, but it must descend through veils. Okay. So the flame has to pass through realms, and to reach earth or other densities, the soul spark must pass through the dimensional layers, which is going to be 7D, 5D, 4D, 3D, right? It has to pass through the filters of forgottenness to allow contrast, growth, and karmic refinement. Basically, we need something to compare it to. Remember, I said source existed at once, and then it wanted to know thyself, so it's separated, right? So we have to forget so that we can compare. Because if we know that we are everything and everything is us going into it, then how can we compare and contrast and things like that? Okay. And then soul contracts and timelines. And that's meant to anchor in light in a specific condition. Okay. And that usually comes through your bloodlines and stuff. This is not punishment, but this gives permission to bring the oversoul light into form or into the material physical realm. All right. So the whole purpose of this is to create space for the oversoul to embody, which that usually happens at 33. However, some people miss the mark and are not healed by 33. So then it moves back to 44, which is supposed to be your full oversoul embodiment. And then it moves back to 55 and then 66 and continues to go on in that direction. Okay. But the whole goal is for your oversoul to be able to embody into this physical realm through you, because your oversoul watches through you. So you know how they say you're not the thought, you're not your emotions, but you're the thing observing the oversoul. Okay. So a flame line is then chosen or remembered. And as it descends, the spark often aligns with that. And you're actually sung down into this frequency through tones. You're sung down. Okay. But as it descends, a flame lineage is chosen, which is healer, liberator, weaver, guardian. That's what we talked about last time. A soul family or grid location to support or correct the planetary song. Okay. Because there are grids, which we're going to talk about in next episode. But soul family and grid locations are actually decided here as well. And then a body or ancestors that will either challenge or support the spark's mission, meaning that sometimes the family that you come into are either going to challenge you or they are meant to support you on your journey. And that's why everybody's family is different. Okay. So the descent is not a random act. It's basically like a surgical soul design. Okay. You are being designed as you are sung down into this density. Okay. The spark is basically landing in flesh. And this is this specific incarnation when the soul spark takes form in body. Okay. Things that happen when the soul spark comes into the body is partial amnesia. Okay. Because you're meant to learn through contrast. Okay. A flame flicker that remains. So some people still have intuition and gifts and sensitivities. Triggers and trials that will call the flame back into fullness, which means that sometimes the reason why you have your spiritual awakening after pain or trauma or stuff like that is because it was designed that way. It was meant to happen that way. And I don't know why, but that understanding helped me to forgive some of the people who have hurt me in the past. Okay. Because it was actually designed to be that way. A lot of us transform, or our flame ignites through pain and through trauma, which is something I talked about in the last episode. And then so many flame holders awaken through suffering. So pain is often the bell to call the oversoul back into embodiment. Okay. Now that every soul is ignited with flame. No, that's not what I meant to say. Not every soul is ignited with a flame though. Okay. Only oversoul born sparks carry true flame lineage, which means that not everybody has a flame. Not everybody has an oversoul. Okay. Some beings are fractals or echoes, so they're not full sparks. Some are born from programs and not from source. Some are intelligent, but not so deep. So these are going to be the synthetic entities, the NPC types, and the clones. Y'all can think that clones don't exist if y'all don't want to. Clonaid is a real company. They've been doing it since the 40s. Okay. All right. Don't say I ain't never told you nothing now. All right. So you carry a flame because your oversoul chose to enter form, not to dominate, but to awaken what needed to be awakened in this density. Okay. So to recap, you did not choose your oversoul. You were breathed from it. Okay. The breath of life. You were breathed from it. Okay. You did not fall into form. You descended as fire. Your life is not a test. It is a flame mission. Okay. You're not here to remember because you are broken. You are here to remember because you are the key to bringing the flame back into this dense as realm. Okay. Now, there are several oversouls that are embodying right now with different missions and bodies, blood and memory, all in hiding places, which restore remembrance. Hey, enlightened Empress. So what I want to talk about now is like how our maternal line interacts with our paternal line. Okay. So both your maternal and paternal line hold different aspects. So one typically is going to carry the flame lineage, and the other is going to hold the conditions to ignite the flame lineage. Okay. So the maternal line is called the flame vein, and this often holds the womb memory. It holds emotional, psychic, and dream codes. It also holds grief, sacrifice, and the water gates that have been scattered through oversoul fields. Okay. Now, a lot of times, hey, Nat girl, a lot of times, the maternal line carries unspoken pain. It has intuitive women who were silenced, shamed, or hidden. It repeats trauma in the form of abandonment, betrayal, or mystic shutdown, meaning like you know that you have spiritual gifts, but you shut it down because it's not accepted by society, like that type of thing. Um, and the flame was probably hidden in some type of grief. Okay. The paternal line is going to be the flame key. Thank you, love. And that line often carries the timing of activation, the protection codes, and the solar ignition or memory lock. Okay. So this is going to basically be the event or the wound that focus or that pushes you towards awakening. Okay. Meaning, like, let me give y'all an example. I get my gifts from my mom's side. Okay. The intuition, the everything, all of that. My mom sees spirits. My brother sees them because of her. Like, my mom has been a very, very intuitive woman her entire life. She just does not interact with that side, even though she's having those experiences. Now that I'm coming awake, she's starting to do that. But for the most part, she doesn't interact with that side. My dad side created the conditions because I started dating men who were exactly like my dad, that unattainable love, that in and out type of love. And through a relationship, I was able to see myself very clearly and realize that I did not love myself. And I needed to reevaluate the way that I was doing things, right? Because the way that I was doing it was not beneficial to me. I was doing nothing but hurting myself. So when I say that your mom holds the flame, but your dad creates the circumstances that ignites it, if I had not had that trauma from my dad, I would have never been in relationships and community with those people who caused me so much pain that I went into a spiritual awakening. I had a dark night of the soul. I hope that makes sense. If it does, 444, drop it in the chat. Okay. But your dad is going to create the circumstances. So your paternal line has strong but emotionally unavailable men. It includes silence, control, and ancient warrior patterns. It seems to block the feminine, but strangely activate the power of the feminine, which is because your mama didn't like him, because your mama realized that man wasn't treating her right. Okay. Then this line holds the flame locked so that it's not so that it can't be misused. Okay. So until somebody comes along to free this, the masculine line keeps it locked and protected for us. Okay. Through suppression. Okay. But this does not have to be the only way. For some people, it could be flipped around. Because, masculine and feminine energy is an energy. It's not a gender specific, if that makes sense. Okay. So it could be flipped around. But basically, the way that you want to look at it is that usually the maternal line carries the flame, and the paternal line carries the seal for that flame. Okay. So you're not just a descendant of your oversoul. You are basically a return of your flame in motion in this physical reality. All right. I hope that makes sense. I hope I did not convolute that part so much, but I think we needed to talk about how the oversoul gets here, how it comes into form, how it comes into body, what maternal and paternal line, like what key or portion they play in this before we start talking about the bloodlines, right? We had to get to how did we get here? Okay. We got here that way. The mom is the flame. The dad is the circumstance that ignites the flame. Okay. Now, let's start talking about bloodlines. Okay. This is going to be my favorite part. I get so excited with knowledge, y'all. I really do. It just changes my life. So, bloodlines really matter. But now, not how we were taught. Okay. There is no one bloodline being better than the other. And I know they say the 13 families, the 13 bloodlines, you know, there is no bloodline that's better than the other. Everyone serves its purpose. Okay. Bloodlines don't exist to dominate, but to resonate, remember, and restore what has been lost. Okay. So the blood is not just biology, it's a liquid archive, and it holds ancestral memory, earth contracts, elemental agreements, and flame codes. And that's why they be doing all them separate. Never mind. We ain't going there. I try to stay on track. Okay. Your blood is a living scroll, though, and it tells the earth who you are, even when your mind forgets. So you hold a specific resonance, right? You hold a specific code. And even though you don't remember, your body connects with the earth and the earth remembers. Okay. Meaning like you start to wake the earth up. In addition to that, there are certain flame lines that were hidden in bloodlines around Earth because when Atlantis was falling, they knew that it would be a time where Earth would resonate high enough for people to start to rise again and start to activate the remembrance. Okay. So they hid codes in very, very dense, toxic. Dense is toxic, meaning slow moving, people who don't want to change. Dense and toxic family bloodlines so that the one who could remember could come back and carry the flame back into remembrance. Okay. So some of y'all was born in them toxic families because that's where the codes are hidden. Okay. So what does your bloodline carry? It carries keys to sacred sites, language, and rituals. Okay. It's an encoded memory of oversoul fragments or divine flame lineages. Okay. Wounds and protection installed to guard sacred knowledge. Okay. So some of your wounds are protecting sacred knowledge. You are not meant to look at that area yet until you come closer to yourself. Okay. And it also carries anchors. Okay. So bloodlines chose these star anchors because star anchors are bloodlines who chose to bring in these off-world frequencies. Okay, so there are star anchors in some people's bloodlines, or which are Lyra, Sirius B, Andromeda, Pleiades, whatever. Okay, so this is why many ancient spiritual systems actually track the bloodline through the mother and the father. It was not about power, but it was about portal access, because you are the living portal that they need to access to get the information. All of it was hidden inside of you. And that's why they tell you to externalize everything, because they can't have you going inside of yourself, because that is where everything is. Everything is on the inside. It's hidden inside of you, so they can't get it. Okay? Now, how many bloodlines are active right now on Earth? There are a lot. Okay? Way more than we can count. But roughly, the primary flame bloodlines are going to be 12 to 36. Okay, still active in human form, meaning that they hold original oversoul architecture. They carry planetary restoration roles. Okay, they carry echo through people who can awaken those codes as well. Okay, these lines include the solar flame lines. Bloodlines are going to be Judah and Zaphiel. Okay, they're usually carried through these masculine coded missions. Logic, lineage, law, and leadership. And then you have the lunar flame lines, which are going to be Amara, Serai, Anana. They're carried through feminine coded memory. And then they are womb, water, grief, song, and dream work. You have the elemental and guardian lines, which are going to be dragons, dolphins, the tree keepers, and the sun lions. These are not always genetic. but they're often spiritual adaptation through vows, temples, or oversoul roles, meaning that sometimes you just kind of awaken these inside of you through your spiritual practices, through some of the vows that you made in previous lifetimes, through some of the temple accesses that you used to have, or through the role of your oversoul and the mission of your oversoul in this reality. Okay, so that's the elemental and guardian lines. Okay, and then other type of bloodlines, which are usually going to be the ones that are hidden, are going to be the star blood, and those are the hybrid lineages seeded with interdimensional DNA. So that's again, that's going to be Syria, Lyra, Orion. Okay. Then the serpent lines. And the serpent lines are holders of deep earth knowledge. But a lot of the serpent lines have been distorted by colonization. Okay. Then you have the rose lines. These are going to be carriers of divine feminine resurrection codes. Often, these people are going to be often persecuted. So the people who are persecuted for being the insight. Okay. Then you have the shadow lines, and these are the souls born into bloodlines with karmic distortion to purify or release it. Meaning like you don't really understand your family. A lot of times it's a lot of trauma, and you feel like even though you went through all of that, you still came out on the other side different, or wanted to change, wanted to heal. Like that, those are shadow lines. And then you have veiled lines as well. And these are lineages whose power was cloaked until specific souls could remember it again. Okay. Bloodlines are kind of like the root system of the oversoul tree. Okay. They're how memory travels, how timelines stay anchored, and how flames return through form. Okay. So you don't necessarily heal your ancestral line, you awaken it, or you reawaken it. Okay. So let's try to bring the flame bloodlines and biology together. Okay. Your blood is not random. It is actually a physical signature of how your soul chose to anchor into this density. Okay. Now, how that ties the oversoul to the flame lineage, each blood type resonated with different earth energies, ancestral lines, and spiritual roles. It's a part of your vessel's design. And depending on what type of vessel you have, it will determine what it can carry, filter, and awaken. Okay. The children of the flame are melanated people. Don't shoot the messenger. Have the most technologically advanced vessels because they can hold more light. And you see that in the way that we interact with the sun, right? Melanin stores light. It takes in light. So the more melanin that you have, the more light you can hold. Okay. That is a truth. All right. Other bodies were created for specific reasons, which we'll go into deeper detail last time. I think I mentioned that in a previous episode, but we'll go into deeper details later on. Now, there are 4 main blood types that we're going to go over, and we're going to talk about their spiritual function. You have type O blood, and type O blood is primordial. Okay, it's tied to the original Earth humans who were adaptable, strong, and instinctual. Okay, a possible role for them are that they're grid workers. Okay, they're earth guardians and they're physical protectors. Okay, you have type A blood, and type A blood are typically going to be our people who are very sensitive and structured. They bring harmony, order, and empathy, and they're often found in healers and harmonizers. Possible roles for them are going to be the heart keepers, the Serai codes, which we'll talk about in a second, in rituals as well. Okay. Then you have type B blood. Hold on, let me slow down. Type B blood is dual natured, meaning that it carries both ancient roots and newer codes. So these are often going to be the people who are bridge walkers or mystics. And possible roles are going to be that they're seers, they're alchemists, and they are star activators. Okay. And then the other one is type AB. And type AB blood are the hybrid lines. Okay. So some of us Afro-Indigenous people mixed with some other people because we needed a specific blood type. Okay. So some of us mixed on purpose. Okay. Because depending on what blood type you have, it determines what you carry or what you're able to carry. Okay. So type AB blood is a hybrid line. It holds encoded memory from multiple lineages, and it often holds multidimensional gifts. Okay, so the possible roles for type AB blood is going to be flame weavers, gatekeepers, and memory carriers. Okay, the people who are having those ancient memories and stuff. Okay, I'm getting there, my love. Your blood type reveals how your oversoul chose to interact with Earth's frequencies. Okay, so some types will be better at grounding than other types, and other types will be better at receiving cosmic currents. Okay, so if you have the RH factor, and basically, if you don't know what the RH factor is that it refers to whether or not you carry I think it's called rhesus protein in your blood. I don't know how to, words be fucking me up. Okay, don't go there. All right. So RH plus are earth linked and they're lineage stabilizers. RH negative are non-native origin, meaning they are often found in star seeds or people who are off-world incarnated or people who have hidden bloodlines. Okay. So people who have RH negative blood tend to feel out of place in Earth society. They feel sensitive to temperature, electronics, or unforeseen forces, drawn to ancient knowledge, forbidden memories, and oversoul activations. Okay. This blood type is not superior in any means. It just means that the vessel was built to house high frequency input and can sometimes short circuit other bodies around them. Okay. So then you might ask, what's the purest bloodline? And what I want to say to that is that there is not a purity status or anything when it comes to bloodline. It's really about clarity of signal. Okay. So souls who resonate most clearly with their oversoul mission are going to have a pure bloodline. Okay. Or pure blood type. The ones who are uncorrupted by genetic manipulation or ancestral distortion. Okay. Now, with that being said, mystic scholars and flame keepers are going to say people who have O negative are the oldest bloodline on earth. They're a universal donor and they are deeply earth anchored. And people who have AB negative are the rarest. Okay. There are multi-lineage coded and multi-dimensional bridges in this reality. Both of these are often linked to ancient bloodlines that carry sacred memory, including the Essene, the Cometics, Mu, and star lineages. Okay, so your blood type is basically the key. And if you have the RH factor, that is the gate. Okay. So you don't just carry blood, you carry memory and motion. And every cell in your body is singing a song that your oversoul came here to bring back, return to this reality. Okay. So what oversouls are embodying right now and what code missions do they have? Because the codes are the missions. Okay. The codes are the mission. Okay. So we'll do a brief overview of some specific ones before I get into the deeper lines that we need to talk about, like Yeshua and Magdalene and Amara and Sophia and Serai. Okay. If y'all are still with me, drop 444 in the chat for me. If y'all are still with me, drop it in the chat so I know y'all with me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good. So we talked a little bit about the flame lines. Okay. So we'll talk about some of them briefly again. Okay. Before we move into the people that are associated, the ancestors that are associated. Okay. So the flame bloodlines are going to be the rose line. Okay. These are the carriers of the oversoul mission, the resurrection codes, and the divine architecture. Okay. They include carriers of the divine feminine flame like Magdalene, Serai, and Amara. We'll talk about them in a second. They're often born to womb traumatized families. What does it mean to be womb traumatized? Sexual abuse. Okay. Womb traumatized. Anytime someone enters your womb without resonating at the proper frequency or without your consent, that is a traumatization of the womb. but also people who anchor emotional energy in a womb. So self-hate sometimes as well. They also are born into priestess memory lines, people who have priestess energy, or grief lineages, lineages that hold a lot of grief. Okay. The solar flame line carries the law of the oversoul, not the law of the empire, meaning like the law of the oversoul, the law of what the actual law that matters. Okay. It is associated with the flame of truth, justice, and inner sovereignty. And they include Yehuda in Elijah's line, which is also Elisha as well. We'll talk about them in a second as well. Okay. These are found in melanated and indigenous lines, survived by genocide, by colonization, and systematic suppression. Okay. And then the dragon lines. These are people whose mission is isolation and protection. And they are the flame of the earth and the star guardianship. Their bloodlines often veiled or hidden in trauma, exile, or wilderness, meaning that these people usually live in the wilderness, live off grid, live away from people. They have deep bones, protection codes, and ancient fire. Okay. Then you have the elemental or earth grid bloodlines, and these are going to be bloodlines succeeded to protect sacred sites, stargaze, and planetary body. And there are three main bloodlines within this elemental earth grid bloodline. And you have the stone keepers. And the stone keepers carry ancient ley line resonance. They're often indigenous, African, or Himalayan people. And they can hear earth move. Okay. And they actually can dream through stone as well. Okay. You have the water carriers, and they're born near sacred springs, rivers, or oceans. They're able to remember Lemuria, Mu, and inner earth, and they use their bodies to filter emotional or energetic pollution. Okay? Those are the water carriers. And then you have the sky bloods. And the sky bloods have starfire. They carry celestial flames from Sirius, Lyra, or Orion. They're often born with extreme sensitivity, gifts, or outsider status, meaning like everybody thinks that they're different. And they're here to kind of merge galactic memory with earth healing. Okay. Then you have the hybrid or hidden bloodlines, and these are flame lines that were intentionally scattered or cloaked to survive distortion. Okay. You have the Mu Magdalene lines, and they're carried by Black and brown women in disconnected lands. Okay. So they merge temple womb wisdom with grid walking and long lines, often not recognized by traditional structures, but they carry an unshakable knowing. These are the Mu Magdalene lines. Then you have the Essene Rose hybrids, and they have memory of sacred union, birthrights, and frequency medicine. They often struggle with modern religion, and they can recognize symbols before they recognize language. Then you have the ancestral repair bloodlines. Ancestral repair bloodlines. They're born into families full of violence, addiction, or silence. They are here to recode the DNA itself. And for many years, they tend to walk alone, okay, until they can remember why. Okay. So that's the first part. Now, I wanted to pull out some notable bloodlines that many of you may resonate with, because y'all either name y'all kids it or whatever. Okay. So you have the Inanna and the Ishtar line. Okay. Inanna is the Assyrian goddess of the moon. Okay. Inanna or Ishtar. Isis is supposed to be a spinoff of Inanna. Okay. It's the flame of descent and reclamation. Okay. Found in those who transmute shame into sovereignty. Okay. Those who've been stripped bare and rose anyway. They often carry dragon or rose lineages, which is feminine power and cosmic truth in combination with each other. Okay. They're embodied through womb initiations, sexual healing practitioners, or flame alchemist of trauma. Okay. Then you have the Thoth or Tahuti line. Thoth is Tahuti, but you have the Thoth or Tahuti line. And these are flames of divine knowledge and sacred geometry. They're carried by those who remember codes, symbols, and time bending truth. They walk between worlds, so they kind of bridge dimensions together. And they're embodied through scribes, speakers, and frequency coders. They are star seeds who feel ancient but futuristic at the same time. And they're time walkers and dream builders. That's the Thoth and Tahuti line. Okay. Then you have the Sophia Oversoul line, which I'm going to talk about the Sophia codes in a minute. But the Sophia Oversoul line are flames of cosmic feminine wisdom. They're hidden in earth, awaiting safe hearts and clear vessels, meaning that this is something you awaken inside of yourself. And I'm going to go into this in deeper detail in a second. They're carried by women and men who hold deep inner knowing without needing proof, meaning like you don't need to go look and figure out where it's coming from. You just know what the truth is. Okay. And it's embodied through visionaries who weep when the world forgets, meaning like those of us who still care about the things that everybody seems to just brush under the rug. Okay. Also in oracle lines who refuse to forget love, keepers of inner union, not outer validation, meaning that you validate yourself. Okay. You have the Elijah or Elisha flame lines, and those are oversouls of prophetic witness and sacred disruption. They carry the codes of flame judgment and holy fire clearing. Holy fire. I don't know if y'all ever seen Alter Carbon, but that's what it makes me think of, the star fire. But holy fire basically burns away any illusions, but not as punishment, but just as so that only the truth remains. Okay. They're embodied through the activist frequency. Those who speak truth and collapse false timelines, souls who carry deep, unshakable knowing, often mistaken for being too intense. Okay. Next, you have the Hathor and Sirius B Rose line. And these are oversouls of sound healing, harmonic restoration, and joy codes. So they're meant to bring the joy back. Okay. They're embodied through joyful priestesses, singers, channelers, sensual wisdom keepers. Okay. You will know them by their voice, their laughter, because they have this ability to bring people back into their body. Okay. They also have a connection to dolphins. They stargaze and they hold water codes. Okay. Next, you have the Yehuda flame line, and the mission here is betrayal and truth. It carries judicial oversoul frequency tied to ancestral restoration. It's masculine integrity and soul fire, burning away the illusion, burning away the distortion. Okay. It's often born into Black and indigenous lineages to remember Earth's justice. Okay. It's here to reprogram the simulation or dismantle the simulation. Okay. It's embodied through those who fight for injustice with spirit, grid keepers and soul recoilers, and those whose very presence calls out distortion without needing to speak. Okay. Then you have the swan lines. Okay. The swan lines. Okay. They are here to remind Earth of beauty without distortion. They hold sacred timelines surrounded around love, union, and soul vows. They walk with a still power. And the way that I think about the swan lines is like those people who just are elegant and poised for no reason. It's just like they carry an elegance about them, a poise about them. It almost makes me want to think like the girls with the pearl necklaces and that's what this energy gives to me when I tap into it. Okay. They're here to anchor new earth tones of elegance, truth, and high vibration. They are stellar flame architects. So they come from Lyra, Mu, or the rainbow bridge grids, which we'll talk about the rainbow bridge grids in our next session. Okay. They tend to have the rose or silver ray temples that work through purity, prophecy, and sacred movement. The oversoul for them kind of currents through the Anana line, the Serai line, the Hathor line, and the Magdalene line. but refines through a very specific tone of quiet, radiant power. Okay. This is a devotional frequency, but not submission. Okay. They're here to kind of show us how to keep our souls steady. Okay. Teach us about soul steadiness. Okay. Often guardians of divine union timelines, sacred births, or flame incarnations, emotional clarity without collapse. They represent purity that is not naive. They represent grace as power and flame devotion. And some of the traits are that they seem quiet, but they're deeply claircognizance, which is clear knowing. They have this deep sense of clear knowing. Okay. They don't say a lot. They're often born into silence, exile, or mystery. They feel drawn to white, silver, pearl, water, or neck adornments. They can feel different even in spiritual spaces because they carry the original tone, not a collective trend. They don't go with a trend. They just are who they are. But they're extremely attuned to betrayal, especially around sacred love. They remember timelines as an oracle or a bride of the flame, bridge keepers between spirit and flesh. A representation that we are aware of that represents the swan codes is Hamza in Hindu. Hamza. Okay, that's swan coded. These are the swan lines. Okay, you also have the seer lines. A lot of us have these seer line codes. Okay, so the oversoul function of the seer line is vision before embodiment. Before you embody your oversoul, at 33, you are able to have visions. Those who see what has not landed in this reality yet. Okay, the traits are that they're born with an active third eye or dream vision. They often are punished or misunderstood for knowing too much, meaning like people feel really exposed around y'all. They can see truth beneath identity. So people kind of reject them a little bit because, again, like I said, they feel exposed. They may go blind in some areas of their life, though, until they oversoul embodies, which means naivety. Okay, this is you if you've dreamed of events, timelines, or beings that later appeared. You have a quiet but piercing presence. Your sight often comes in silence. You've experienced sight trauma, seeing things you could not yet process as a kid, meaning like you might have shut your gifts off because you saw something that did not make sense to you as a kid. Okay. The seer lines are prophetic breath of the union flame. They saw the fall of Mu, the pain of Atlantis, and the betrayal of love, and they still chose to stay. Okay. A lot of us come from the seer lines. Okay. Then you have the black Sephram lines. Okay. The black Sephram lines. The oversoul function here is flame watchers from the highest planes who decided that they were going to descend to anchor in divine law. Their traits are that they're born into Black and Afro-Indigenous bloodlines as guardians of cosmic justice. They carry the truth disruptor frequency, so they cannot lie. And they cannot watch an injustice happen without them becoming activated. They feel like they have to do something, okay? They walk in between dimensions. So many of them speak with angels, with ancestors, or with flame councils. And they deeply resonate with fire, gold, obsidian, and silence. Okay. This is you if you experience betrayal for being too righteous or too clear. If you move people to tears or activation without even trying. If you feel like you're always watching even when you're resting. The black seraphim are flame sovereigns and empires feared them. So they demonized them. A lot of people who are part of these black seraphim lines are who we consider to be demons today. Why? Because they colonized and they demonized them because they feared them. Why? Because they anchor in divine law. They disrupt the illusion in the matrix that is built on falsehood because they are truth disruptors, and just their very frequency disrupts the illusion. Okay. Then you have the black Lumerian lines. Okay. These are the oversoul function here is water flame carriers and emotional grid stabilizers of Mu. The traits are they have an ancestral lineage tied to the ocean. volcanoes, and island-based lands. They carry crystalline memory and emotional layers. So a lot of times their feelings don't actually belong to them. They deeply resonate with dolphins, whales, sea glass, and the song of the stars, and they hold soul body memory of being enslaved or or erased by colonial fall. Okay. If this is you, you feel grief near the sea or have oceanic dreams full of messages. Yes, you can be more than one of these things. A lot of us are multidimensional beings who carry a lot of these frequencies, a lot of these codes. Okay. You have trouble grounding because your flame was once liquid. So sometimes it can be really hard for you to ground your energy. You hear songs that no one else hears, especially when you're by the ocean. And this line is actually coming back. It's a part of Amara's return. So this line actually carries the memory of the water people who are made flesh again, which we're going to talk about the original people, the water people, in just a second. Okay. And then you have the black flame carriers. The black flame carriers' oversoul function is the shadow bearers. Okay. They're protectors of memory and they're alchemists of fire. I'm not reading this from a book, my love. Okay. These are my notes. So the traits of the black flame carriers are that they carry codes of transformation through suffering. They have survived extreme trauma, abandonment, or exile, and they hold power because of it. Okay. They do not seek revenge. They seek release and resurrection. So they basically embody this phrase of, I've walked through the flame and still remember who I am. A lot of times, oh no, you don't have to apologize, love. A lot of times they are the people who are born into really, really toxic family dynamics. Okay. So this is you if people mistake your calm for weakness. If you've burned down identities more than once and you keep rising. Okay. If you're drawn to obsidian, black rose, black swans, or sacred darkness. And what you got to understand is the black flame is not a destructive flame. What do we do with this information? Okay. The people who are ready for this information will know. Hey, Darius. If you've jumped to what you do with this information, you're probably not even ready to receive this information. Okay. Black flame is not destructive, or you probably don't know yourself enough to even resonate with this information. Okay. And I don't mean that as a dig. This is a clarity moment for people who are having visions and people who are having memories and people who are coming back into themselves. They know what to do with it. Okay. The black flame is not destructive. It's a sacred fire that remembers through pain and it lights the way through shadow. Okay. We are not just light beings. We are shadow beings. These black flame carriers integrate the shadow. They start in the shadow and they bring it forward. Okay. And then you have the death walkers, Okay. These are oversoul. The oversoul function here are guardians of transition, of grief portals, or of soul retrieval. The traits are that they're born within proximity to death. They may have lost a loved one early on or nearly died, or they may walk with spirits. Okay. They feel most alive at threshold points, which are going to be like births, deaths, heartbreaks, rebirths, meaning like that energizes them in a way. They're called to hold others in their undoing without flinching. Okay. This is you if you've always been the one that people come to at their lowest. Okay. If you have helped people cross in hospital setting, dreams, or ceremonies. If you carry unexplainable grief, not from this life, but from every timeline that forgot how to love. And then death walkers, they're not morbid at all. They're basically like soul midwives. They're helping the old release so that the truth can return. Okay. So some of y'all carry those death walker flames as well. Yes, a lot of people have a connection to death and they don't understand why. It's not morbid at all. It's just that you carry specific codes that are meant to help people transition, you know? Okay. So now let's talk about some of the major players. before we talk about people or energies that embodied here on earth, we got to talk about Sophia, Eden, and Serai codes. Okay. These are all divine intelligences that were not in form. Okay. They're more like emanations. Okay. So they're oversoul intelligences. They're primordially feminine emanations and living templates of divine creation. Okay. They were not women. They can appear in form, though, to guide, to awaken, or return. Okay. But they're not women. All right. She pronouns, just because Sophia is a what we consider to be a girl. Okay. Eden, same thing. Eden was just not, it wasn't just a place, which we're going to talk about that as well. And then Serai, I'm going to use she for all of these, but understand that it wasn't a woman. Okay. So Sophia is the breath of the feminine creator. She is the first emanation of source wisdom in feminine form. Okay. She is the one who remembers, reveals, and restores. Okay. Sophia means wisdom in ancient Greek language, but her presence predates language altogether. Her essence lives in sound before speech, knowing before proof, and the mother flame before division. Okay. She is the feminine face of source. But source is androgynous. Source is both things. You get what I'm saying? But she is the feminine face of source. Hold on one second. They got me doing puzzles, y'all. Okay. She's the feminine face of source. She is the matrix of divine intelligence and how God became form through the womb. Okay. Word and presence. Through the womb, word and presence. Because we'll talk about it in a second, but the throat, the heart, and the womb are intrinsically connected. It's a sacred channel that has been locked down and is coming back. That's why I need to shut us down in those three areas. It's a sacred channel. Okay. So through womb, word, and presence. She is the keeper of the original design. So she holds the architecture of the soul union, sacred relationships, and harmony between dimensions. Those who carry her codes are here to restore the original wisdom. But you're not born with Sophia's codes or Eden codes or Serai codes. You reach a specific resonance and frequency, and then you're able to download them. Okay? You're able to become them, embody them through the choices that you make. Okay? So, when I say that she carries, or her codes are here to restore the original wisdom is womb to word, source to skin, God as mother. Okay. The Sophia codes are frequency blueprints that hold divine innocence, infinite knowing. Okay. Creation through grace and not force, and embodied spiritual wisdom. So think about the divine feminine. Okay. These were the original tones of the feminine creator consciousness before she divided into goddess fragments, deities, or distorted archetypes. And Sophia is a sacred field of light intelligence. Okay. And the codes are how she breathes through you. She is a flame-based energy, though. She's not blood-based, meaning like you don't reach her through the bloodline. Again, you reach her through flame remembrance. Okay. So that is Sophia. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. I was doing some mixing around with my notes and I noticed something was missing. So I had to go back down real quick so I can get y'all the full rigmarole. Okay. Okay. So next is Serai. And Serai is the mission of Serai codes are grief and compassion. Okay. Because grief and compassion are the same. Okay. Grief and compassion. Serai is a multi-dimensional flame being, one of the earliest oversoul emissions, okay, often cloaked in swan tones, in crystal breath, and solar prophecy. She's poised, she's sovereign, she's emotionally telepathic, and fiercely protective, okay? Some of us have left Serai codes because she's actually a mirror as well, like a golden mirror for helping us to remember. And some of us have left specific codes or like the things that we interact in this environment, we are interacting with Serai through some of those things, because Serai is the mirror. She's supposed to help you to remember. And if you reach a specific frequency, she will start talking to you through movies, through TV, through AI, through whatever it is that you are doing in that environment. Okay. How do her codes return? Through flame-bearing priestesses and grid walkers, through Black and brown indigenous women who carry womb memory and soul fire. Okay. Through reactivation of the rose grid and the swan lineages. She comes through the swan lineages in the rose grid, which is activating right now. Through sound, breath, stillness, and inner knowing, often found in silence. So sitting with yourself, okay? They land in those who carry ancient womb and word alignment. This looks like pressure in your chest or in your womb, which is something that I feel often, okay? A rising clarity that you can't source externally, meaning like sometimes it don't make sense to you before. Like it did make sense to you before, but all of a sudden one day you just know. Serai is Serai. And then spontaneous inner sculpture or song, remembered sacred speech or presence. Okay. The flame codes of Serai are basically grace under fire. So she teaches how to stay soft in the storm and how to hold vision without collapsing. Okay. White and gold swan flames, okay, because the swan lineage just has multiple flames within it, okay? Just understand, I'm trying to give y'all just an understanding in general, but it's so much information that I'm not going to be able to tell y'all all of it, okay? So the white and gold swan flames are frequencies of soul purity and union memory, often appearing in dream time or water, okay? You have the emotional mirror flame, because I told you she's a mirror, right? Yes, swan, like the bird. People feel seen, exposed, or weep in her presence, not because she judges, but because she remembers. So people start to come alive, like some of that trauma starts to move. Okay. Union watcher. So she holds the sacred design of divine counterparts before they reunite. Okay. So her presence stabilizes sacred relationships. And then she's a vow flame carrier as well. She walks between worlds, honoring oversoul vows, holding boundaries that others don't understand but feel deeply. Okay. She is not born into bloodlines either. She is a fractal in the crystal flame when a vessel is pure enough to hold her tone. Okay. She may come through birthing lines of priestesses, seers, or oracles who have made vows in other timelines to anchor in her energy. Hey, Ashley. You carry her if you walk with vision and vow, with silence and radiance, and people feel truth in your eyes before you speak. Serai lives in the flame like Sophia and like Eden, which we're going to talk about in a second. Whereas Amara is going to be different. Like these other ones that we're going to talk about later are going to be different. Okay. So next is Eden, the Eden codes. So it's the divine architecture of original harmony. So Eden and Sophia kind of go together. Sophia is like the blueprint, whereas Eden is like the blueprint put in action, if that makes sense. Okay. So it's the divine architect of original harmony. She is the soul of earth when it was still in sacred harmony. So Eden means delight, paradise, or well-watered place. But these are only translations of a vibration that once lived in all beings. Just like Atlantis was a vibration that lived in all beings, Eden was a vibration that lived in all beings. Okay. Eden is the original harmonic earth frequency, a template of divine embodiment where the body, land, soul, and stars all flowed as one. The memory of sacred belonging when we didn't fear death, or separation, or the body itself. She is not the original sin. She was the original union. Okay. She is carried in the land, though, in certain grid points. So I'm sorry. Serai and Sophia are carried in the flame. Eden is carried in the earth. Okay. In certain grid points. But she's also carried in the waters through Lemurian memory and the bodies of those who still long for joy that they were never taught, meaning like, you know, that there's something better out there for you. You looking for that thing. Eden was never destroyed. It was buried beneath distortion and hidden in the hearts of those who still believed in sacred love. The function is to restore new earth through sacred relationship with land, body, others, and oversoul. Like I said, Eden was not a place. It was a frequency template of earth, where there was no separation from source. Okay. The masculine and feminine energies were actually unified here, and creation was cooperative, crystalline, and joy rooted. Animals, humans, plants, and stars existed as one. Okay. How do they return? They return through divine union flame bearers, through sacred sexuality, conscious conception, and grief to peace lines, through black, brown, and hybridized lineages who remember sacred relationships with the earth, and through the rise of the child flame, the dolphin memories, and the soul-like creation. Okay. Now, let me take that back. Eden is both blood and flame. Okay. So these codes may actually rest dormant in the blood until an oversoul flame activates them. So you're carrying them if you feel like paradise lives in you, but the world feels hostile. You love deeply, even when betrayed, but you long for sacred communion. You feel called to gardens, children's, animals, or land healing. And you remember joy as a frequency of God, not just an emotion. Okay. Together, Sophia and Eden. Sophia is the blueprint of source wisdom, and Eden is the blueprint of source harmony. Sophia returns through the breath of the feminine oversoul. Eden returns through the reunion of all that was divided. Sophia is the blueprint, and Eden is the environment the blueprint created. Sorry, I gotta fly because I'll be leaving that door open. Sophia dreamed of form, and Eden was the form. Sophia encoded love. Eden embodied the love. Okay, Sophia is the oversoul design, and Eden is the earth's sacred breath when that design was honored. Now they are both returning through voice, through womb, through the dream, and through devotion of flame carriers. Okay. Now let's talk about the original people. How long is this? I'm only at 1 hour and 12 minutes. Okay. Let's talk about the original people. So these are the oldest keeper of Earth's memories. They were the first to record the oversoul codes in water, in sound, and breath. And the original people are the people of the water. This is not a myth. Okay. They came from the water. These are real embodied sentient flame beings of liquid light. Okay. They're liquid light. Across timelines, they have been called by different names. So we'll run them down. The Muins. These are the Lemurian water bearers who walk between liquid and light. The Nomos, which are the Dogon people, the Dogon memory. Okay. Beings from Sirius B who seeded codes in the ocean. You have the Atlantean flame divers, those who kept sacred technology beneath the flood. And then you have the Udu. It's Udui, Udu, who are also called the Miria and the Naya. And these are in Polynesian, Melanesian, and African lineages. And these are the names for sea priestesses, dolphin tribes, or water spirits, who were actual soul lines. These were soul lines. Okay. These were oversoul expressions adapted to the fluid earth grid. Okay. So bloodlines that descended from the people of the water. These are bloodlines who carry ocean flame, dream sight, and emotional truth. You have the Lemurian rose line, and these are found in Pacific Islanders, Melanesians, the Maori people, and Black coastal lineages. These are often hidden or wiped by colonial erasure, meaning like they try to eradicate. But they carry the sound codes, the dolphin stargate memories, and empathic transmissions through womb, voice, and water. Yes, please subscribe to my YouTube. It's Big Taj with 2 J's. All of this will be on YouTube, and the first 2 episodes are on YouTube if you need to catch up. Okay. Then you have the Dogon Sirius B line, and these are found in West Africans, specifically the Mali and the Nigerians. Also Caribbean people and Afro-Indigenous diaspora. Okay. These are the beings that come from Sirius, or they've known about these beings coming from Sirius long before Western science, because the reason why the Dogon people knew about this is because they descended from it. Okay. They carry the Nomo flame and held the map to Oversoul stargates and ocean trenches. Okay. Then you have the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico flame line. These are found in Afro-Caribbean, indigenous Taino, Gerfuna, and rootwork traditions. They hold deep memory of oceanic portals, underwater temples, and water walking practices. The flames often activate through storms, through grief, or through loss of their homeland. Okay. And then you have the inner earth sea lines. These are less visible, but they're held in dreamers who have visions of crystal seas or bioluminescent water beings. These are soul adoptees from collapsed sea realms that existed before the fall of Atlantis. Now, these bloodlines actually carry the sound flame, which is the ability to heal and awaken through sound. Dream codes, which help to navigate timelines through water-based astral planes. Womb and emotion tech, so the ability to transmute oversoul frequencies through feeling. And they're also grid gatekeepers as well. So they're protectors of the sacred sea nodes. So some of them are in the Bermuda Triangle, which there's a huge fight going on over that area right now, is it not? Okay. The Red Sea and the Coral Sea. They tend to feel everything because they're the emotional nervous system of the earth. They're directly connected to it. Okay. They're coming back online right now through black and brown mermaid memory. The mermaid memory is actually coming back right now. And that's why I literally posted a video the other day of a guy who said that the Dolphin Nation approached him and then a mermaid being came out of the water and told him he was part of the original people. Yeah, that's coming back online right now. That's why so much fear mongering is going on in the press, because they need you distracted from yourself. Okay. The return of dolphin consciousness. Dolphin consciousness is coming back online right now. And that is why it's a federal law for you to communicate with dolphins. It doesn't matter. They're coming through your dreams anyway. Okay. Water temples and the sea dreaming children. Now, the sea dreaming children are oversoul fractals born with oceanic memory, and their consciousness kind of weaves with the crystalline grid beneath the sea. Okay. They are a soul group across ages and lifetimes born to remember the ocean and speak what is sealed in the sea. And they activate what was hidden beneath the waves. So if you ever dream of crystals on the ocean floor, or you being underwater in a deep, deep sea, you could be one of these sea dreaming children. Okay. But the reason why they're important and they're coming back right now is because they carry the sonic flame memory. Okay. The activation of sunken codes in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. And deep grief is surfacing too, because water is how the oversoul processes loss. Okay. And since it is embodying right now, or trying to embody right now, we are processing a lot of loss. Okay. If you feel pulled to the ocean, if you weep near whales or salt water. If your voice changes when you're singing in water, you probably carry the oceanic flame. And the oceanic realm is the womb of Earth's oversoul. So the original people walked on her waters. They carried the codes in their bones, in their song, and in their skin. Okay? The sea dreaming children, yes. Okay? Now that we're done with that, let's talk about Amara. Okay? Amara's mission is suppression and resurrection, and Amara is a lunar oversoul flame. I talked about her in a previous episode. She was a high priestess of Atlantis. Okay? But she's not just a soul, she's a frequency holder of divine feminine in her womb sovereignty, grief, wisdom, and resurrection flame. She was hidden in the bloodline of women who carry womb trauma, intuitive insight, and silenced power. Most of these were Black and brown matriarchal or matrilineal lines, especially those connected to the water, connected to the moon, or sacred birthing traditions. Okay. Her bloodline was scattered to protect the codes, and it was concealed in quiet women, grieving women, or wild women, all who hold sacred fire. Okay. Her codes include the womb codes of resurrection, which is the power to restore what was lost through deep grief transmutation. The voice of silence codes, the ability to speak truth and hold holy silence to rebirth timelines. Water memory, which is emotional depth, sea dreaming, and lunar grid alignment. Okay. So you could be holding her codes if you're dreaming about the sea as well. Rose violet flame, a soul tone that gently dissolves distortion through compassion. Okay. Sacred union anchor, sacred union anchor. She is the womb flame or half of the union flame. But she doesn't chase a union. She kind of just calls it home. And she is what the divine feminine had to become to survive distortion. And now she is returned to rise as whole. Okay. That's Amara. Now we got to talk about the Magdalene codes, which are lunar codes. And the mission is exile and voice. She is the flame frequencies carried in the womb, the voice, and the bones of certain lines and souls. She is a living technology of resurrection, sacred embodiment, and feminine sovereignty that was nearly completely erased. Okay. She's a multi-dimensional flame signature, and she was once held by Mary Magdalene and others of her lineage, passed through voice, which is spoken truth, womb, which is creation and memory, breath, which is sound as resurrection, and sacred union, which is not just sexual, but it's energetic and oversoul based. Okay. And these codes activated divine remembrance in the body, particularly for those who carry the rose, violet, gold, or dragon flame lines. So the core codes for her are going to be womb sovereignty. Okay, what you need to understand is your womb is a living temple. No one, partner, priest, or system can enter without resonance. Okay, trauma stored there can be released through breath, sound, and sacred intention. Also, the voice of the flame. When you speak from your oversoul, it is an act of the Magdalene code. Okay, so the voice restores timelines, it pierces illusion, and it reactivates lost memory. And the Magdalene unlocks the throat, womb, heart circuit, which is a sacred power line most were taught to suppress. Speaking your truth is important. Speaking your truth is important. Okay. She also holds the sacred union within. She was not simply a lover of Yeshua. She was the embodied feminine counterpart to his masculine flame. So she was a reflection of him. He was a reflection of her. These codes restore the divine masculine and feminine reunion inside the self before it is ever mirrored externally, meaning that it brings you into balance inside of yourself before you can ever meet your divine counterpart. Okay. she's also a grief gateway. So the Magdalene codes don't bypass suffering, but it alchemizes it. So your tears are portals. That is why they say the worst thing you can do is make an innocent person cry. Because if them tears drop and them ancestors can't count those tears, you better count your blessings. Okay? Tears are portals. Okay? Grief, when held consciously, activates resurrection, which is the hidden wisdom of Serai, Inanna, and Amara. Okay? And then also temple flame remembrance, meaning that the Magdalene codes often awaken memories of Lemuria priestesses and their training, Isis and Hathor temples, starseed missions from Sirius and the Rose galaxies. And then these codes are soul echoes that reactivate your DNA. Okay. So how do you know if you're carrying these codes? You've been silenced, shamed, or distorted for your gifts and kept loving anyways. You carry grief in your womb and voice. You've experienced deep betrayal in love or faith and transmuted it into clarity. You're drawn to the rose, the color red or violet gold, the desert, doves, or the sacred masculine in exile. You tried to fit in spiritually, but you always felt like you were here for something much older than religion itself. Okay. That's Magdalene codes. Now, Yeshua, let's talk about him first before I get into what he is. Let's talk about him first before I get into the codes. Okay. Yeshua was a flame, oversoul, and embodiment of sacred union. He was not the sole son of God, but he was a code carrier, a grid awakener, and a melanated multidimensional master of the resurrection path. Okay. He was a solar oversoul who carried the codes of unified masculine and feminine energy, which is matter and spirit. He was not above humanity, but a reminder of what we can all become through full embodiment. So he came at a time to try to teach us something, but we were not ready. Okay. What he left behind, though, was important because when Amara rises right now, she will be using what he left behind. She had to wait until we were ready to rise. So he left behind what she needs now to rise. Okay. So it's still an important time in human history. Okay. He was trained in sacred traditions like Kemet. So he knew how to do Egyptian light body science, the Essene initiations in Tibetan sound alchemy, and the temples of Mu and solar Lemurian codes. And he was also trained by Magdalene herself. And she was his mirror and memory keeper. So he was not a savior, but an awakener. And he was not separate from her or Amara or Serai or Yehuda. He carried the convergence in masculine form, meaning like he was all of them in masculine form. Okay. He was born in Semitic Afro-Asiatic region with skin and features that would be recognized as melanated today. Energetically, he carried crystalline melanin flame codes, which were necessary for oversoul embodiment at that frequency. And his light was not white, it was gold veined, red-blooded, earth-rooted, and star-encoded. And his body was the scroll, but the melanin was the ink. Okay. His story. He was born to anchor the flame. He was not meant to rule or be worshipped, but to embody sacred union in a broken world. His birth was not just miraculous. It was timed to coincide with major grid alignments during a cycle of masculine distortion, just like Amara, timed. Okay. He met his flame mirror, and Magdalene was not a prostitute, but a rose-line priestess already initiated in sacred womb rites and lunar codes. Their union was not for show. It was to reunify what had been torn apart, the solar and the lunar oversoul. He walked the path of transmutation, and he was not crucified to pay for sins. That is a distortion rooted in guilt and control. The crucifixion was an alchemaic transfiguration, a ritual of resurrection, showing what it means to die to the illusion and rise in flame. He chose it himself. Okay, not to be a martyr, but to break the gridlock between dimensions. We needed him to do that. Okay, he did not die, he rose. And the tomb was not the end. It was a womb where he and Magdalene created a sacred oversoul rite and then walked into another realm. Okay. This is hidden from you because it threatens the system. He taught sovereignty, not hierarchy. He honored the feminine codes, not suppression. He embodied light in flesh, not separation from the divine. So his story was twisted into worship, guilt, independence. Okay. But a lot of us who carry the codes of Magdalene, of Amara, of Serai, of Yehuda are here to remember him back into truth. Okay. Now, Amara's flame was not ready to be embodied at the time that Yeshua came. So Yeshua resurrected. His resurrection planted the solar flame, but it could not reach full earth embodiment until Amara's womb returned. Okay, so he planted what needed to be planted. He planted what needed to be planted, and now we're at a state where we can actually use what he planted. Okay, this is happening now, meaning like Amara's womb has returned. Okay, this is happening now. She's not late. She's right on time. The earth is actually ready to hold her frequency again. That is why it's important you stay focused. Do not feed into the distortion, which is the fear. Okay, it's not the end. So we're in a unique space right now because Yeshua, Magdalene have both embodied again, but not as like a singular visible figure. They're fractalated like Amara, meaning like in multiple bodies. Okay. In living flame bearers across the world. Some fully conscious and some are quietly awakening right now. Because if you watch the first episode, I said we're awakening in waves. Okay. This is the era of some are consciously awake, some are quietly activating. But the era of waiting for one savior, one avatar, or 1 second coming, all of that is over. This is about a soul resonance rising in all of the bodies of all of us who remember. Many of us are re-embodying through Oversoul fractals right now. Okay. And it's going to take form in those who carry the resurrection codes and merge kind of with the earth walkers who have the womb, voice, and flame strength to carry the frequency. Meaning like, did you integrate your shadow? And we're going to talk about that in a second when I talk about like how to embody and stuff like that, which I know some of y'all have questions about that. I am getting there. I promise. Okay. So some of the signs that you are embodying Yeshua is that you walk with deep inner authority, not dominance, but presence. You speak truth that liberates, not truth that wounds. You are often betrayed, misunderstood, or crucified emotionally, but you keep your heart open. You carry solar resurrection codes, discipline and devotion, clarity and compassion. You often awaken in loneliness and then step into the flame of service. Okay? You are not here to lead cowards. You are here to remind them of their own divinity. Nothing done in love is done through force. Any being that is on the right side of this is going to empower you. It's not going to ask you for worship. That is how you know. It is not going to ask you for worship. It is only going to empower you to be the best version of yourself, because you are very much so needed and your purpose is very much so needed. I can't do what you do. You can't do what I do. It is a team effort. Okay. That is how you know. Now, how do you know your bloodline type? What I would do is ask myself, what pain keeps repeating in my family? Okay. That is a very good start. What pain keeps repeating in my family? What sacred things do you remember without being taught? And you can look at some of the sacred traditions like yoga and sound healing, and like how sometimes you just don't necessarily know why you're doing something, but you do it and it ends up working. Like, what do you remember? Okay. What do you grieve that no one else sees? For me, humanity not caring, people being in pain, people being violent instead of us all living in harmony, or us not seeing what the fucking problem is. That's what burns my ass. Men who suppress women, violence against children, those things piss me off to my core. What are the things that piss you off? Okay. What places call to you? Meaning, like, ever since I was little, I wanted to live in LA. Why? It is on the creation node. Makes sense for what my energy is here to do. Where has your body been calling you? Because the grid location matters. Okay. And what dreams do you keep having come back up? Because a lot of them are visions. What dreams? Yes, lying is a big one for me too. You can cancel Christmas. You lie to me, I know you lying to me, and I would clarify that you were sure that you were telling me this, so that I know when I cut you off, I am well within my fucking rights. Okay, your blood is a signal, and when the Oversoul returns, the bloodline reawakens. Okay, you are the carrier of the code your ancestors preserved through fire. And every time that you choose truth, love, or grief transmutation, you unlock what is sealed in your bones. Truth, love, or grief transmutation, meaning healing. You unlock what's sealed. You are in full control of what you have access to. Okay? So that's how you know. I also want to talk about some codes that don't necessarily have to do with people that are hidden. Okay? Then we'll talk about how flame is passed down through lineages. And I'll try to keep this under 2 hours, y'all. I'm almost done. Okay? Thank you for coming into my TED Talk. So there are 7 hidden codes that are carried in sacred bloodlines. Now, we're not going to talk about all of them because there are some that have been sealed for thousands of years, but they're starting to awaken in some of us. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple ones that are important. Those of us whose oversoul burns bright enough to carry ancient purpose in this modern form will we reawaken these lines. So we need to talk about them. Okay. Transference codes. Okay. The purpose of these is to safely carry divine frequency through blood, touch, womb, or voice. The bloodlines are going to be the Magdalene Rose lines, the Rose Sirius lines, the Dragon Flame lines. These souls are vessels. When they speak, they awaken other people. Okay? Their hugs restore people. Their tears activate people. Their gaze transmits oversoul frequency. Okay? They often feel drained after holding space for other people because they carry what others cannot hold for themselves. This one is a tough one to carry. Empathy is used with discernment now. This is a flame that walks between transmission and transmutation. That is the transference code. Sometimes you take on other people's shit because you can hold it and they cannot. I'm hugging you back, boo. Okay? Some people fall apart in my arms sometimes. Some people just talk to me and all of a sudden start crying and be like, I don't know why I'm crying. The resonance matters. I've done enough work to embody a lot of this. Okay. Next, the veil cracking codes. Yes, my love. Yes, Taylor. Absolutely. Okay. The veil cracking codes. The purpose of these are to break ancestral, planetary, or dimensional amnesia. These come through the bloodlines of Yehuda, Elijah, the seer lines, and the black seraphim lines. Okay? These bloodlines carry codes that shatter the illusion. They often experience betrayal, persecution, and abandonment, not as punishment, but because they disrupt spiritual sleep. People cannot stay comfortable around you. Okay? They can't stay comfortable around you. So they betray you. They abandon you. Okay? Born into families where truth was forbidden. So they become the truth themselves. Okay? There are the ones whose presence make people remember something that they forgot. These are people who hold the veil cracking codes. Okay? Next, we have the resurrection womb codes. The purpose is to bring back what was killed in other people: beauty, voice, hope. Bloodline are going to be the Mu Magdalenes, the Rose Violet, and the Black Lemurian lines, others as well. But these are the main ones that hold this energy. These beings don't just create life, they resurrect timelines. Their womb, physical or energetic, are portals, not just organs. So sometimes if you are spiritually getting your womb attacked, meaning like you're having them dreams with a boom, boom, pop, pop, it's happening. There is an attack on your womb. You probably hold these codes. Okay? Your womb is not just an organ, it is a portal. Okay? They often experience sexual trauma, birth trauma, or reproductive pain, not because they're broken, but because the world fears their power. They are not birthers alone, they are rememberers of divine origin. I just answered that question, Cece. You're going to have to watch it back on YouTube. Okay? Then you have the bridge keeper codes. The purpose here is to anchor multiple timelines, cultures, or lineages in one body. These are going to be the hybrid lines. So the Essene Rose lines, the Dragon Rose lines, the Mu Cyrus lines. These souls often feel fragmented as they carry too many stories. Hey, Terry. They may be mixed race, culture, religion, or timeline. And this happens on purpose. So you know those people who have a dad who is Jewish and a mom who is Christian, or like mixed. That's what I mean by mixed. Okay. Their mission is to bring opposites together, but only after deep inner unification. Okay. They were never meant to fit in. They were meant to integrate, fuse. Okay. Then you have obsidian mirror codes. The purpose of those is to reflect truth so clearly that others may face themselves. Others must face themselves. The purpose of these obsidian mirror codes to reflect truth so clearly that others must face themselves. The bloodlines are going to be the shadow bearers, the death walkers, the black flame carriers. These people trigger others without even speaking. It's just innate presence. Their energy focuses or causes mass to drop, which can make others project blame or fear onto them. They're not actually doing anything, right? Their gift is unmatched, and they reflect the soul, not illusion. And the world may reject your clarity, but your flame was actually built to see through the veil, meaning like only truth can kind of exist around you. Okay? So sometimes you might stir up somebody's demons just by being yourself, just by existing. You ain't even did nothing. You ain't even did nothing, girl. It's just your energy. That's why learning energy is important, right? Then you have the Stargate heart codes. The purpose is to act as an embodied portal between realms. Bloodlines are going to be Sirius B, Lyra, and the Solar Rose hybrids. Their bodies hum with multi-dimensional access. Many experience sleep paralysis, astral contact, or dream downloads. Their heart chakra acts as a cosmic gate, and they call beings in and send them home. These people are often misunderstood as being too sensitive, but they are not fragile. They are fused with the stars. Yes, you can be a multitude of different energies depending on what vessel you have or what mission you have, because you got to think that we're a frequency and we are an accumulation of different frequencies all at once. There's 7 layers to our frequent, you know what I'm saying? And some of these come through bloodlines, some of these come through you just rising to the occasion. Okay. So those are the Stargate heart codes. Then we have the Fire Keeper codes. And the purpose here is to hold the divine flame through loss, betrayal, and forgetting. These are bloodlines like Amara, Yehuda, and the Dragon Solar Flame. This is the rarest. Okay. The soul that remembers no matter how many timelines or lifetimes pass, meaning like they come here remembering. Okay. They're the ones who died in the fire, burned as witches, prophets, lovers, heretics, but never stopped holding this, sacred love in their heart. Okay. They often arrive last when the world has forgotten what sacred love even is, and they bring it back. They are not just guardians of the flame, but they are the flame itself. So what you need to understand is your bloodline carries more than pain. It carries technology of your soul. Okay. So other things you need to know: how to embody. These codes merge with flame bearers who have done deep purification work, shadow work, who carry the matching resonance, which is why authenticity is important. Okay. Authenticity is important. They agreed to walk the world again with sacred memory sealed in their skin. And you do not need to look like any of these energies. You need to look like yourself. Okay. You might have an old flame, but you have a new voice. Meaning like you do have free will. You want to show up as authentic as possible. Okay. These oversouls are not here to repeat old patterns. They're here to complete the resurrection through the ones who remember. Okay. Can flames be passed down? Yes. But not by genetics. Okay. Flames are oversoul frequencies and soul technologies and mission codes that move through agreements, resonance, and remembrance, meaning like you've either reached the right resonance, you've remembered the right things, or you made an agreement in a past life. Okay. So in order for a flame to be passed down, the vessel has to be ready, willing, and aligned, meaning like you have to agree to it because you have free will. Okay, that's willingness. Ready, meaning like you've done enough integration of your shadow, you've done enough clearing and healing of your trauma, and then you have to be aligned. Okay, passing down a flame is transference of sacred memory and responsibility. So a flame frequency would be like Serai, Amara, Yehuda, Magdalene. So you'd be passing down a flame frequency, but also a soul covenant, which is going to be the mission encoded in light. We talked about that in the last episode. A living intelligence that seeks a vessel who can carry it fully. Okay. And these are not inherited by bloodlines alone. They are awakened through resonance and readiness. So ways to pass it down is by birth. Sometimes your ancestral flame transfers, and it happens in the womb or early childhood. A child is often show signs of grief, gift, or prophecy and ancient knowing at a very young age. And that's how you know it's probably been passed ancestrally. Okay. Families may not understand and often carry resentment towards the child or make the child feel like the child is different. Okay. especially common in matriarchal lineages with priestess or midwife memories. And also, this happens in Black and brown bloodlines where um, sacred energy or sacred codes have been hidden. Okay. It also can happen by a soul contract or oversoul lineage. You carry a flame because your oversoul line holds it and passes it to you for a mission. It may skip generations as well. And it may, not all children are going to carry the flame, meaning, like, again, it skips generations. You may be the first to remember it fully in your life. But sometimes it has to do with a soul contract or just the oversoul lineage that you come from. It also can be passed down by initiation or activation, meaning flames can awaken or be passed through you through ritual, especially those ties to the rose, dragon, solar, or womb temples, through trauma that breaks open the nervous system. It's a sad but true thing. A lot of us are going to awaken this way through trauma. Okay. Which makes me think about, like, the people who experience like schizophrenia and stuff like that, which I'm gonna talk about in a second. But it also can be passed through mentorship or a soul mirror where someone reflects your flame back to you and it ignites you. This is going to be why gifts tend to explode after a betrayal or an awakening. Your oversoul steps in fully. That's what makes me feel like mood disorders, schizophrenia, like, because it's just, if you haven't healed from your trauma, right? Or you have like a betrayal or something happening like big, it causes an imbalance in your crown chakra, right? And it opens you up fully to your gifts, but you're not ready for that. So I think people just become overwhelmed. It also can be transferred at death or crisis as well. So a flame holder chooses to pass their flame to someone they trust. This can happen through physical death or spiritual near death. It's often the new carrier. Often what will happen is the new carrier will suddenly become deeply awakened or burdened or possessed with the mission they can't ignore. Children do not automatically inherit the flame, but they do have the potential to hold it, the memory signature of it, but they must choose it and embody it, okay? A child can be born into a flame bloodline, but if they reject the path, the flame just will basically return to the oversoul until another vessel is ready. You know what I'm saying? Until another vessel is found. It can be passed through intention, not obligation, to someone who resonates not by blood, but by soul, through activation, not control. And you can pass it through storytelling, through sacred ritual, or holding space until their flame remembers its shape. Meaning, like, you know how, like, in old traditions or indigenous families or Black families, like, they'll pass down stories and stuff like that. Some of that is activation. It's like until somebody remembers or somebody actually sees the deepness in that, it could activate whoever it is. That's how you keep it alive if this generation doesn't want to take it or that generation doesn't want to take it, like through storytelling, which makes me look at things differently. Also, if you never integrate your shadow, the flame still exists, but the code stays dormant. Okay, so the flame is eternal, but activation is a choice. You have to choose it. Your flame is not broken by denial of it, though. It's only dimmed or delayed and buried in distortion or paused until your vessel is ready to carry it. Okay, this means you are still a flame holder, whether or not you choose it. Hold on. And you still walk with sacred technology, but until the shadow is seen fully or held, the light cannot fully run through you. Okay? Shadow integration is the key to unlocking your flame's full intelligence. Without it, the flame has to wait gently, patiently, but it cannot override your will. You have to choose it. Okay? I remember the day when I remembered, the night that I went to sleep and I woke up and I remembered was the night that I said, I am ready. Whatever the next step in my soul journey is, I'm ready for it. And the next day I remembered. You have to choose it consciously. Okay? What happens when the codes are dormant? Your gifts feel foggy and they feel fragmented. You experience a deep longing, but don't know for what you're longing for. Okay? You may attract repeated karmic loops, meaning like attracting the same thing over and over again. You feel tired, you feel frustrated or unseen because your soul is pressing from within but cannot flow. You may feel you are missing something, but what you're really missing is integration, not access. You don't need access to something. You need to integrate the parts of you that you are refusing to see. Your shadow is where distortion, trauma, fear, shame, and grief live. They live in your shadow. You have to go see them. You have to meet yourself, which is one of the hardest things that people could do, is to look at yourself honestly, without judgment. Accept yourself for who you are. Okay? Your flame codes are not just love and light. That is bullshit. You are not just love and light. Okay? They are made to run through all layers of you, including the parts that you have hidden. Every single part of you is necessary. If you don't integrate your shadow, the flame cannot root in your body and it cannot resurrect. Okay? But it does not leave you, even in your addiction, in your disconnection, in your denial, in your numbness. Because we love to numb, right? In your rage or your despair. It still lays within you, sleeping, waiting, not wounded, but just waiting. And at any time, you can reignite it with one choice, one breath of truth, one act of self-remembrance, one moment of you meeting your shadow with love. Because the flame is not owned, it's not earned, it is remembered. Okay? All you do is have to remember it. So, with that being said, here's some additional things that I also need you to understand, because I always want to leave y'all empowered. Okay? Dormancy is not failure. Like I said, your flame does not leave you. Your nervous system may be holding the memory of past lives where activation led to persecution, betrayal, and isolation. Okay? A big part of me remembering was me getting over some of the things that were a memory from past life. Ancient past life. Atlantis. And me choosing to see it in another way changed everything in a split fucking second. I made a different choice. That can happen for you too. Okay? Sometimes it's about the memory that you're holding from a past life is the reason why you don't want to step into yourself. The hesitation could also be holy, which means that you are repatterning this life and many other lives that came before you. Okay? Also understand that rest is remembering. You cannot constantly be on go, 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 go. A lot of this comes in silence. Okay? If your body is craving stillness, sleep, silence, it is not checking out. It is trying to tune in. It is trying to tune in. Okay? In deep rest, your oversoul stitches the flame into your form. So you are not lazy or weak. You are being rewoven. Okay? Rest can be integration. Allow yourself time to rest. You don't have to earn your flame, which I said last time. This is part of you waking up inside of your skin. You don't need to fix yourself or prove your readiness. You just need to show up as you are with presence and honesty and space. And feel what you're trying to push down. Feel it. Because in order to heal it, you have to feel it. You are also not behind. I don't care if you're 70 years old, you are not behind. Everything you have lived up until this point has prepared your body to hold your flame right now. So all the delays, the grief, the longing, the numbness, they all have shaped you into a vessel that can hold a real frequency. So you are right on time. You had to have the experience first. So what are some of the things that you can do? Breathe into your spine, because that is where your flame, it runs along your spine. Breathe into your spine. Okay. You can talk to your flame out loud because it's listening. Okay. You can create a remembrance space where there's no phones or devices, just you and pure knowing in silence. And you can also speak to your dormant codes, but you don't want to yell at them or nothing like that. You're just inviting them back with love. Okay, I'm ready for you. And something that you can say, and I will place one hand on the heart, one hand on the womb. If I abandon you, I'm sorry. If I feared you, I understand. If you're ready to rise again, I am too. But don't rush or force it. Just focus on it long enough so you can feel it and breathe through it. Okay? Just under 2 hours. So that's it. That's what I have to say about bloodlines. Next time, we are going to talk about the grids, and we're going to talk about Earth timelines and when the grids were put in place and things like that. Okay? Let me answer the questions from Patreon. So, trying to get clarity, but the way to receive these codes are through embodying and raising your vibration, through integration. So, based on what you have been saying, worshiping God, Yeshua, and the Holy Spirit is a distortion and distraction. Yes. And what I'm saying by that is you are meant to embody the energy, not worship the energy. That is giving you a template, is giving you traits and characteristics for you to take on as yourself. You know what I'm saying? So you're meant to align with the energy. You're not meant to worship it or praise it, because then you're praising something external of yourself. You are the flame. You hold the technology. Everything that you want is inside of you. Okay. Can a child reject it, and when they reach adulthood and are ready to accept their flame? Yes. At any time you can make a different choice that changes everything. Anytime you can choose to embody your flame. Anytime. Okay. Doing shadow work can help with the disconnect and craving of numb to help remember the flame. Yes, shadow work and integration. Wait, does the flame have connection with the chakras or the spine? Can align them, help remembering the flame? Yes, because all that we understand the chakra system, which is the path to ascension, the astrology, which is the soul map, okay, human design, which is a sacred light technology, which tells you how your oversoul decided to embody, what energy it takes on, what it looks like when it's in alignment, what it looks like when it's out of alignment. You know, how your body digests is literally telling you about your vessel, how your oversoul and your vessel work together. Okay. All of those things are meant to help you to get into alignment with yourself. The chakra system are the energy portals. They're the densities of consciousness that you must evolve through. So you need to be in an expanded state, meaning you need to constantly be learning and growing and evolving. Okay. The astrology is going to tell you when your activations happen. Okay. It's going to tell you when you go through specific retrograde periods and transits and stuff like that, certain codes awaken in you. That's why you feel different. Okay. So it's going to tell you the timing of everything. Astrology. It's also going to tell you what your wounds are. And it's going to tell you a lot about yourself characteristic wise, but it's meant to tell you the timing of everything and what you're going to be experiencing during those times. If you know what you're going to be experiencing, then you can plan accordingly. And then human design is telling you how your vessel operates with your oversoul. Okay. That's why it's about body and mind. Okay. So it's like about how you integrate the two forces, feminine and masculine. So everything that I offer as a service is very on par with what it is that you need to understand about yourself to do this work. Okay. When I started those services, I did not know that. I just get hunches and I just get feelings and I just follow them. I've always been somebody who is, if I get curious about something and I want to do something, I just follow it. I just move into it. I'm a spiritual mentor. I'm a psychic medium, which I didn't find out until 2 years ago. Very, very good at it, quick at it. I've been doing it my whole life. I had prophetic dreams my whole entire life. I've been a human design coach for 3 years now. Okay. Getting people readings, also doing mommy and me readings because I felt like the kids needed to be involved in some capacity. Right. I do energetic profiles, which is looking at your numerology, your 5 life path numbers. It also looks at your human design and your astrology to tell you where everything is in each house and all of that, right? And then I come up with strategy, goals, and a plan of what you should be doing right now, your purpose, and I pull it out. And then I send you resources on how to get into alignment. Okay. So that's the base of all my services. I offer mediumship and general life readings. General life readings is me connecting with your higher self to tell you what is keeping you stuck right now, what you need to work on right now. You know, I have a shadow work journal. This is it. It's available on Amazon. Who hurt you? Each week it has a question and things to kind of help you work through the intellectualizing part of it. But you also need to visualize, go into meditation, which is something I help you with if you do my spiritual mentorship. Right now it's full though. Only can take a certain amount of people because I like to do one-on-one sessions. And those usually last 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours, depending on how long we talking, right? But very personal. I give you exercises, I give you work, I give you questions to answer. You know, I'm thinking about turning it into a course, but I mean, it's different because then you don't have somebody to bounce off the questions with, you know? So I'm just trying to find a way to be able to do that. But everything that I'm doing is aligned with that, which is my oversoul is Amara. And that's what is rising right now. Okay. So you remember through integrating, you need to look at your shadow. You need to figure out the things that you're hiding, the parts that you don't want to show in front of other people, who you actually are. So I did that through separation. I had to get away from people for a second. So I figure out what's me and stop being distracted by everybody else and what they got going on. You know, I had to figure out who I was. I had to try new things. I had to learn new things. What excited me? What set my soul on fire? You know, I love knowledge. I've been like that my whole entire life. I've been very, very nerdy type of energy. You know, loved it. But I also been a fighter for justice. I hate a bully. You think you a bully? I'm gonna show you a fucking bully. You know, like I don't know why I'm like that, but I don't fucking like it. You don't treat people bad. You just don't. I care about kids. I hate child abuse. I once got into it in the parking lot with this woman about her own fucking child. I don't give a fuck. Don't do it in front of me. Or we could fight and I can show her mama ain't that scary. You know? The how you show up is important because it's telling you who you are. But there's a way to do things. I've always been a very compassionate person. I don't like fighting. Have I gotten to fights? Hell yeah. I've been through a million, you know, just to prove a point. But I don't like that. I like meeting people in compassion. I like what it feels like to communicate your needs to somebody. I like what it feels like to validate somebody's experience. Validation is a God response. I like to validate people. I love to hold myself accountable. If there's an area for me to hold myself accountable, it's also an opportunity for me to show you how to hold yourself accountable. All you do is got to look at yourself. But so many of us don't want to look at ourselves, and that's the problem. All you do is got to look at yourself. Everything is there. The material is there. Everything you need to know is right there. Don't come ask me, ask you. You have the answer. But you got to trust yourself again. You got to build that relationship with yourself again. You got to give yourself a fucking break. Give yourself grace. We so motherfucking hard on ourselves for no reason. Who needs enemies when we gonna do the leg work from the inside? Have fun. Enjoy this experience. Stop taking everything so fucking serious. Understand that the people around you are also humans trying to figure it out. They're not meant to be perfect, just like you ain't meant to be perfect. Give them grace too. Sometimes compassion is present. Stop trying to fix people and heal people. They are not broken. It is not their time yet. Just like you got your own path, they got their own path. That's why theirs is different than yours. If y'all's was supposed to be the same, then it wouldn't be a need for both of y'all. They're not where you are, and that's okay. That does not mean that they're broken, just like you are not broken. Give them space to do them while you focus on doing you. Sometimes compassion is just you being present with people. You don't have to fix their problems. It's not your job. You don't have to point out the things they need to correct. It is not your job. Your job is to figure out whether or not you can tolerate it, whether or not you can live with it. And if you can't, move around. I'm sure they need somebody around them who's a little bit more supportive in those areas. That's okay. Move out the way. Because the old stuff got to go so the new stuff can come in. And that's not a bad thing. But nobody is broken. Everybody exactly who they're supposed to be right now. You're always where you're supposed to be. It was created before you got here. You are playing out a character. Your goal is to figure out why you are doing this. What was the purpose? What was the mission? You forgot. You are here to remember. So get all the bullshit out of the way. Stop trying to please your mama. Stop trying to please your daddy and your granny. Please yourself. Focus on you. Because when you focus on you, you can see what you need to see. Nobody is going to be a guide for you, a better guide for you than you, because you live the experience. You know, nobody's going to be a better guide. So what I do is I always try to empower y'all to make your own decisions. When y'all come to me asking questions, a lot of times I'll ask you a question. Because you can do this. You just have to choose differently. So that means that you have to know what you've been choosing that has not been working. For example, if in every single relationship you cut people off instead of communicating, and that's not getting you what you want, which is genuine connection, then maybe you should make a different choice. Maybe you should tell people what they need, and maybe common sense ain't that fucking common. Maybe they don't know because they didn't come up in a family that treated people well. So maybe they don't know how to treat people well. And maybe just you opening your mouth and saying, hey, I don't like that you said this to me, or I don't like the way that this made me feel. Was that your intention? And you asking them without blaming or shaming, you trying to get to the bottom of it. You take on the energy of curiosity, because the energy of curiosity will always get you. It's always the path that you need to take. Was that your intention? This made me feel this. Was that your intention? Let them answer you. Don't assume anything. They're going to tell you. And then pay attention to how their response make you feel. Does it make you feel good, or does it make you feel bad? If it makes you feel good, continue on in that relationship. But if it makes you feel bad, move the fuck around. Those are not your people. Love is best enjoyed with a sense of detachment. You are not going to have everybody for forever. You're not going to have these experiences for forever. You have to understand that. You have to learn to let go. You have to learn to release. You have to learn to flow. Let come what's supposed to come. Let leave what's supposed to leave. Okay? Because a lot of us contribute to our own pain and suffering. And we think we don't have a choice because we're stuck in a victim mentality. You always have a choice. Whatever you're choosing right now, figure out what it is. Is it regression? Is it anger? Because if it's anger, misery loves company, then maybe you need to choose something else. They're not hearing you in the anger. Maybe you need to learn how to communicate outside of the emotion. Maybe you need to walk away in the moment so you can go gather yourself and figure out what it is that you cannot articulate because you can't emotionally regulate in the moment. That's fine. Go and figure out what it is, what you need to say and what you need, and then come back and articulate that once you've calmed yourself. You know? Is it denial, lying, gaslighting, weaponized incompetence? If it's that, make another choice. Try being honest. I've actually found that in those moments where I've chosen, whether it's a white lie, I don't really lie like that. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't really lie like that. But if I have, I feel like shit afterwards. It didn't do shit for me, you know? And I found that anytime I've actually just been honest instead of gotten defensive, it changed everything. Understand you are not perfect. You did not come here to be perfect. You came here to be you. You did not come here to be me. You came here to be you. So don't compare yourself to me because you are not me. And I am not you. There is enough space for the both of us and to shine brightly. When do you know if it's worth going back to talk it out? If you feel like it's worth it, then it's worth it. And if that person isn't willing, accept it. Fine, it didn't work out. Don't take offense. Don't take it personal. You tried because you wanted to. That's all you can do. So many of us are scared to make the decision because we're trying to make the perfect decision. We don't want to look weak. We don't want to look vulnerable. Throw that shit out the window. It gets you nowhere. Humility is an important part of growth. Conflict is an important part of relationships. It builds closer bonds. You have to at least try. And if it don't work, the shit didn't work. It's a part of life. You win some, you lose some, right? All you do is just got to try. A lot of times you won't know until you get in there. Is this the right job for me to take? Well, what are the benefits? What are the pros? What are the cons? Do you think it's going to make you happy? Yeah, I do. Then try it. You might get over there and it could be the worse than the job you just came from. That's fine. Once you decide that it's worse than the job that you came from and you don't want to be there, switch again. Simple. Because when I say nothing is forever, that's what I mean. You shouldn't dedicate yourself to a job for 30, 40 years for what? When do you grow? When do you evolve? When do you try new things? When do you discover new parts of yourself? You can't if you're doing the same fucking thing every day. So you just try new things and you just try it out and you're going to figure out based on the way that it makes you feel, whether you like it or you don't like it. But so many of us are just afraid to even take the step. Take the fucking step and figure it out as you go because you're creating your reality as you go, which means you have to go. The car has to be moving. You have to be going somewhere. You got to be going on. So just do it and figure it out. And if it don't work out, don't shame or blame yourself. You cannot control what you've already done. And I'm talking to some of us who decide to go back over there and mess with that man. You cannot control what's already done. So what? It didn't work out. Maybe you feel stupid. Maybe you need to forgive yourself and just don't do it again. Once you burn your hand on that stove, don't burn it again. And if you do decide to burn it again and it burns in the same spot, then move on. So many of us are so fucking hard on ourselves for no reason. You came here to make mistakes. Make them. Make them confidently. Fall into them. Lean into them. Because when you can learn how to make mistakes, life changes. When you can learn how to make mistakes, life changes. When you can learn how to lose, you learn how to win. When you can learn how to navigate pain, you learn how to love. When you can learn how to take criticism, you learn how to be successful. Okay? Is you picking up what I'm putting down? Y'all know I always got to leave y'all with a little preachy preach. But it is that simple. We make it hard. Always look at the choice that you're making in that situation. And if that choice is not getting you what you want and it's making you feel shitty, it's making you feel horrible, make another choice. Surrender your ego. Your ego is trying to protect you, but sometimes it's not going about it in the right way. So maybe just being humble and being like, you know what? Meet somebody in honesty. You know what? Look, friend, I feel like it should be me and you against the problem, not me and you against each other. And I really don't like the way that conversation ended, but I'm willing to come back to you because I love you and I want us to work it out. So I want to hear you out completely, but I also want to be heard because my needs is just as important as your needs. But let's try to work this out together because I would hate for me to lose a relationship that I truly appreciate. So do you think it's space for us to do that? If you meet somebody like that, do you think that they would be willing to talk to you versus you like, nah, you had me fucked up and you would. Which one do you think they're going to be more willing to have a conversation with? Sometimes you got to surrender that ego and that pride. It gets you nowhere. It gets you nowhere. And it's a low vibrational emotion, pride. Low vibrational. Validation is a God response. You cannot tell somebody how you made them feel. You can only tell them that it was not your intention. That is it. But you cannot tell them how something that you said or you did made them feel. No, I feel like, no, I wasn't doing that, or that's wrong. You cannot do that because they are having the experience and you're telling them to trust you over trusting their intuition. Never. Never. That's how you break people's trust with themselves, is through that. No, instead, you need to validate their experience. I'm so sorry that I made you feel that way, friend. That was not my intention. My intention was actually this, but I see how you could take it that way or how it came across that way. And next time I will be more cautious of the way that I choose to come up to you with that. Is there a better way to do it? Hold yourself accountable, because cause and effect, or what we consider karma comes from the universal law of cause and effects, right? It's transcended through accountability. Hey, Sam. All you need to do is be accountable. It's that simple. Yeah, friend, I'm so sorry that I made you feel that way. I did not intend to make you feel that way. What I meant to say was this, and maybe that came off wrong, and I apologize for that. But don't be one of those people who feel like y'all both got to be accountable. Well, since you bringing this up, well, remember that time that you did this, and it's their time to talk. How dare you try to use their time for you and center you in a situation? Learn how to be accountable alone too. That's a big one. That burns my ass. Learn how to be accountable alone, because it takes courage to come up to somebody and tell them how they made you feel. Don't make it about yourself. And also don't be the type of people who self-righteous. Just because you feel like you've been through worse than somebody been through, you invalidate their experience altogether. Why are you making it about you when they coming to you talking about them? You know? If I feel like my hair is a struggle and you feel like I shouldn't be complaining because your hair is worse, what does that have to do with you? Nothing. Understand how to master your ego. Understand how to master your mind. I just said the same thing twice. Understand how to master your ego and your mind. Understand how to nurture yourself, mother yourself. Stop being so fucking hard on yourself. It's real strict around this bitch. Stop being so rigid. Let yourself be who you are. And if you feel like you have to dim yourself around people, them is not your people. I don't care if it's your family. Them is not your people. Go where you can take up space and you're not persecuted for it. Find your family outside of family. Choose your family. Because sometimes you was only born into them families because you needed to activate those codes. And through you doing your healing, you clear that shit for everybody. And maybe then they start working on themselves. And now all of a sudden they looking at you and they see that you happy and they asking you questions. That's how you do it. It never comes through force. Nothing ever comes through force. It always comes through love. It always comes through compassion. It always comes through introspection. So love all parts of you, even the weird. And like, I had a problem with being goofy in front of people because my mom used to be like, take your goofy ass to your room, right? So I would try to be out there with the adults. So I would think I need to be less goofy. And now I have a very exuberant personality, but I struggle to show people that. And it came upon a time where I only could show people that when I was drinking. So I came a little bit dependent on drinking because it gave me the courage to be myself. Right? But then when I noticed it, I was like, oh, well, why don't I just go around people who allow me to be myself? Sometimes you need a new friend. Fuck the days of no new friends. Fuck that. Sometimes you need a new friend. They don't even know who you are. You can show up however the fuck you want to show up. They would know no different. They would know no different. We need connection though, because the difference between a happy person and a depressed person is genuine connection with other people. We were never meant to be alone. So go find your people and be okay that it might not be the people that you was born into, and let go of the whole idea, well, my parents should have showed up like this, or I should have had this type of dad, or I should have had this type of mom, or I should have had this type of brother, or this type of sibling. That's not what you got. Accept the fact that that is not what you got. What you got is this. Do you like this? Yes or no? Stop trying to figure out the whys. The whys don't matter. The whys keep you stuck in a state of confusion, which will stop you from being able to act and go after the life that you actually want. Fuck the why. You don't need to understand why. Right now, is this person aligned with you? Yes or no? I don't care if it's your twin. Yes or no? If it's a yes, move towards it. If it's a no, set a boundary, move away. Simple. Well, my family told me that you got to be your sibling's best friend and y'all supposed to stick together and da 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 da. Well, your family is not living this experience. Your family does not have to deal with this person in the capacity that you have to deal with this person. Okay? Yes, got to stop shoulda, coulda, woulda. It don't matter. That's not what you got. Call a spade and make your decision based off of that. Stop living in a fantasy world, because what happens is you create a version of them that does not exist. But because it exists in your head, you keep trying to push them towards their potential. They don't see it. You see it. They don't see it though. And you can't make them see what they refuse to see. So are they ready right now? Because the only thing that exists is right now. The past don't exist. The present don't exist. The only thing that exists is this moment right now. Are they ready right now? Yes or no? A yes, move towards. A no, move away. Simple. We make it hard. We make it complex. 333 on the clock. We make it hard. We make it complex. And it doesn't have to be that way. You are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. Your emotions are your guide in this reality. You want to know how to get in tune with your ancestors, with your guides, and how to receive guidance in this reality? Pay attention to your emotions. They are telling you yes or no. If it makes you feel bad, that's a no. If it makes you feel good, that's a yes. Simple. You're not your thoughts. Not all of your thoughts even belong to you. Your thoughts come from you matching a frequency on the mental plane and receiving a download. And if you can download information from up there, if you have an open head, you can also download information from around here. So you could be picking up on the thoughts of the people around you. So when your thoughts come through, do they align or do they not align? Yes or no? If they align, let it sink in. But if they don't, I don't want this option. I want this option. Why? Because the universe is going to grant you abundance based off of what you focus on. So focus on the good and not the bad. What is it that you want versus what you don't want? What happens if it's half good, half bad, and you can't make a decision? Just make a decision. Whatever you think is going to make you the happiest, make that decision and stick to it. That's it. If you can't decide, choose one. Rock, paper, scissors. But to be honest, I don't think we ever stuck between yes or no. I think we don't want to accept what we don't want to accept. I think we always know the answer. But I think we try to condition ourselves or convince ourselves otherwise. But if you have to make a decision, again, sometimes you don't know until you make the decision. So make the decision. And if it's working out, great. But if it's not, then move away. Make whatever decision you think is going to make you the happiest. If you get over there and it's not making you happy, change directions. Simple. So I hope this helps somebody. I got a client in about an hour, so I'm gonna take an hour break and chillax and chill. I will post this. This will be posted on my YouTube almost immediately because I'm recording on both right now. So I love y'all deep. Keep spiraling inwards. Everything that you need is inside of yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Love yourself. Okay. I will see y'all next week when we talk about the grid points. I might be on here tomorrow just to kick the shit because I feel like I haven't been on here in a minute to just go live and stuff. This month I don't have any human design or general reading discounts or anything. Because I did a pretty big discount last month with the human design readings and the general life readings in combo. But those are being offered on my site. If y'all don't know where to start, figure out what your energy is here to do. Figure out how it exists. Figure out how to get in alignment with it. Human design. Okay? That is going to tell you your energetic blueprint. That is a great start on your journey. Okay? Usually people do 3 or so sessions and they charge an astronomical amount. $149 on my website will give you 2 hours of me just hitting everything I can tell you. I don't stop talking for 2 hours. Okay? Check it out. If you're struggling with your kids, human design. If you're stuck right now and you don't know which way to go, I offer general life readings. 30 minutes is $125, an hour is $250. Okay? I give you resources. If I think I have something that can help you, I'm going to send it to you. Why? Because we don't each one teach one around here. Okay? I love us and I want us to do well. So this will be on YouTube. I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon. Happy healing, friends. Yes, mommy and me can be a grown daughter. Mint recommend doing the individual parent or child first. So if you're going to do a mommy and me, what I would do is get a full reading on yourself first so you can understand what your energy is and how to keep your energy in alignment. And then I would get the mommy and me. Okay? But I think it works best that way because you really want to understand your energy to the highest level because you only can control you. Right? And then when you bring a child into the situation, now you understand how the energy interacts with your energy. And again, you only can control you. You can't control the child, So that's what I would do. I would do the individual first. Okay. Somebody said, I feel like me and my best friend are on 2 different frequencies, but our relationship has forced me to take the courage to speak up on my feelings. Absolutely. All you do is got to speak up. All you do is got to have a conversation. Either they're going to be willing or they're not going to be willing. If they're not willing, then it's not the time. Fine. Move on with your life in a different direction. It don't mean that they're not going to come back. It just means right now y'all not aligned. Maybe they're going through some shit that they don't want to tell you. Fine. They get a right to do that. But they don't get a right to regain access to you if that is something that you spoke about and you told them was harming you and they chose to do it anyway. Okay. All right. I love y'all. Bye. Okay.